All right, I'm gonna throw this away too. And actually, no, I'll just keep this down here. Cool. So, got owner Steve Clark here. Steve, really, I just wanted to kind of have a conversation just about, I mean, really everything, more or less, just kind of like what brought you into this business in the first place, and kind of, like how do we get here, where we're at, and just kind of where we're going, and just cover some of the things that are happening within the industry, and yeah, I'd just be curious to learn more.
Sure. Yep.
So one thing that I hear all the time personally, like whether I'm talking to like my friends or some, of our like our prospects and whatnot, is how do you guys as Ohio Health Benefits and as a smaller independently held agency, how do you compete with Gallagher, with Oswald, with some of the large national players? I guess if you were an employer saying sitting at the table and you have Oswald, Gallagher, Ohio Health Benefits, what would lead you to choose Ohio Health Benefits?
Well, I think the basic answer to that is that we don't answer to a board or a shareholders, right?
Hmm.
We answer to ourselves, we answer to our employees, we answer to our clients.
Right.
And so um, we're local. We deal with small businesses. The smaller businesses tend to get left behind by the bigger brokers.
Why is that?
Um, well, basically, the way the funding model works in this, the larger the group that a broker writes, the more compensation they make,
Hmm.
right? If we enroll a group of 10, it's 1/10 of enrolling a group of 100 employees, and the
Hmm.
same thing if it's 1,000 or 10,000 employees. So there's this natural focus for the large brokers to try to land the larger fish.
Hmm.
They still have lots of smaller businesses. Maybe they wrote it, maybe they got it due to acquisition, but they certainly don't want to spend the time and the focus and the energy on trying to nurture those smaller companies because there's just not enough money in it for them.
Right. And
So
I mean, another question that like we get asked all the time is, how do brokers get paid? I know that there's a few different models, but if you could kind of just run through like the most popular ones, and like typically how we get paid here, at Ohio Health Benefits.
yeah, great question. So that's changed throughout time, right?
Right.
So in the 20 something years I've been in business, the older model was that brokers got paid a percentage of what the premium was. Could
Hmm.
be 10%, 15% of the premium. That's actually problematic because then a broker has an issue with not wanting or not having any incentive to try to lower the premiums.
Right.
Fortunately, that has mostly changed, especially within the market that we serve. So it's mostly per employee per month. So maybe
Hmm.
it's 25, 30, $35 per employee per month.
Does the percentage of how we get paid, like with the premiums, does that still exist at all? Like, are any brokers getting paid with that
There are
model?
many of the ancillary products are still paid that way.
Hmm.
Dental, vision,
Really?
disability, many of those products are still
Yeah.
paid that way. But for the most part, on the medical side,
Hmm.
we don't really see that. And
Okay.
then the other way to get paid is to accept or take no commissions, to extract all commissions from the invoice or from the billing, and then just get paid a consulting fee.
Okay.
And you can't really do that too much on the small market because the commissions are just automatically baked in and you can't take them out. But when we get
Right.
into larger groups, if we're 60, 70, 80, 100 employees or more, we can extract the commissions and just put a fixed amount on compensation that we charge the small
Right.
business.
Right. No, I've even seen some companies in different states. They've posted their fees online. Like they've just straight up just put them um, online. For example, like if you're shopping on Amazon, like you're seeing the price tag and you're seeing exactly what you're going to get and how much you pay for it.
Well, any good broker should definitely be 100% transparent in what they're either charging
100%.
and or getting, right?
Hmm.
And actually the law now requires it that a broker reports to their clients how
When
much
did
they're
that get
getting
passed?
paid. That was about 3 years ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. So, well, let me take a step back. For a smaller employer, like someone under 50, um, their premiums aren't going to change whether they go directly to SumaCare, whether they go directly to Anthem, whether they go directly to AltCare. Their premium isn't going to be any higher whether they go direct or whether they go through us, right?
Very valid point. Right. If they go through us, if they go or go direct to the carrier, the premium is what the premium is. The carriers create the premiums. The state has to approve them. There's rating tables. There's risk tiers that they apply to it. But they're not going to necessarily save money by going direct to the carrier, which is one thing that one of the main things it makes sense to work with an independent agent, because we can look at all these different carriers and make a recommendation based on that. But yes, the price is no different. So if you're dealing direct with a carrier, you can go to an independent broker, and the rates you pay for your premiums are not going to be any different than what you were paying direct.
Right. So kind of, I mean, we kind of went on a little tangent in terms of like broker costs and broker transparency, but let's take it back to the original question of why would someone, if they were in between us and Gallagher and Hub or whoever it may be, and you know they obviously do a great job, like there's no doubt about that, but why would they want to go for a more local independent feel?
Well, from my perspective, there's really two things. One is with us, you're dealing with the local independent agent that works in your community, pays taxes in your community, contributes to organizations in your community, and so you're assisting in that way.
You're staying local.
You're staying local, right? And the other thing is, but the main thing is really it's about service. It's about service. A smaller broker, a smaller independent broker that wants to focus on the smaller group market. And when I say smaller group, let's say that's 200 employees or less.
Okay.
A broker like that is focused on that is going to do a much better job with those clients, because that's what they're focusing on. Whereas a group of 50 or 60 employees to a Gallagher or you know an Aon or Towers Watson is going to be it'll be more of an annoyance to them to give them what they need. Frankly, many times those larger brokers will also charge for services that we also will give to them for no charge. Benefit admin systems, HR systems, compliance systems, running HRA plans, things like that. We can provide those benefits to our small groups and not have to charge them. And many of the larger brokers are charging their small businesses for that. So it actually can be less costly to deal with an independent broker as well than a larger agency.
No, that makes sense, and I actually haven't even told you this. We haven't gotten a chance to catch up since this morning, but like, we had a meeting with a potential client earlier this morning, and she was kind of mentioning that like these are her words. These aren't even mine. She was like, yeah, they're not Johnny on the spot, right? Like I tell a lot of these are her words. She's like, I tell a lot of my employees to call the number on the back of the ID card, which would be principal, which would be they were with SummaCare. She's like, I just tell them to call the 1-800 number on the back of SummaCare, and we were just kind of like sitting there, like, oh, it sounds silly to hear that almost, because we encourage all of our clients that we work with to go directly to us,
right? Yeah,
right, and we work as the advocate for the client. So it's funny to see like the model of the broker telling the client like, hey, you know, just call principal, call Anthem, call SummaCare, they'll handle your needs. It's like, no, like go through us. We're working for you. We're your advocate, and you know, a lot of the times we're going to be saving you a whole lot of time and headache if you just call us.
Yeah, and that's what allows a broker like us to keep our finger on the pulse, right? We know what's going on. We're hearing what the employees are saying. If they make the call directly to the carrier, the broker may never even know that call was ever made.
Right.
There could be a problem there that one employee's having that, wow, if we'd known about that, we can now, you know, improve it so the next employee doesn't run into the same problem. So we like to keep our finger on the pulse of what's going on. So that's why we certainly want and encourage our clients to have them call us or their employees call us, so we know what's going on. We can learn from that. We can get better from that, and that's what we want to do, right? I mean, benefits are confusing. Employees and employers are confused by it, and so we want to know what's going on within that company. If they're having a problem because they can't get a prescription filled, or they're having a problem at the dentist because their dentist isn't in the network, we need to know that so we can do a better job of educating, and the employees can get the most out of their benefits without having to spend a lot of time trying to do that. And that's what a good broker does in the small group market. It's focus on that service, and 100%. So that we can do a great job for these employers and their employees.
100%. And I actually want to pivot a little bit here and talk about one thing that I've been doing a lot of research in, and which is just the healthcare system as a whole, right? So like, I mean, as a lot of us within the community know, and I think more people are starting to understand, is just like how the market is totally integrated in the sense where a lot of the larger companies, like for example, let's take CVS. CVS owns Aetna, and they own all the pharmacies, and they own the PBM within
Right.
the network as well. So they own the whole system, right? So tell me a little bit about. Um, I know that we've had some conversations about your involvement with Health Rosetta, being a Health
Hmm.
Rosetta advisor, and just tell me, I guess, talk to me a little bit about where you see the industry going as a whole. I guess where we're at now and where you see the industry going as a whole.
Well, I think a big part of what's happening is there's becoming a sort of an awakening of what's going on, right? You've got
Hmm.
the pharmaceutical, or the pharmacy benefit managers making money in the middle. You've got the companies that are developing the pharmaceuticals making the money. You got doctors and hospital systems making money.
Oh yeah,
You got brokers and PBMs, TPAs all making money on it. And we're starting to see the layers pull back to say, wow, there's just so many hands in the pot.
hmm
And in many cases, with your example of Aetna and CVS, or it could be United Healthcare, right? They're trying to direct everything through avenues that they make more money on that,
right,
and that doesn't serve the employees or the employers in the best way. So what I see, I think, in the future is that we're going to continue to see the peeling back of the layer of this, and that's where you're going to see more self-funding. You're going to see
100%.
more, less fully insured products, more, hey, let's break the pharmacy out from the medical, out different from the doctor systems and things like that. And we're just going to see more of that as as companies, employers become aware of what's going on in the
Right.
industry.
No, 100%. And I mean, I see it all the time, just in the sense of, a lot of the times I'll be talking with smaller employers, and they're like, hey, we're under 100, we're under 50. Like there aren't any other options for us than fully insured. And it's like, no, that's not necessarily true. Like you can start small, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can begin to crawl and maybe move towards a level funded plan
Yep.
where it works and feels like a fully insured plan. You still have your large national network, but you're at least getting some more transparency and you're fighting back that way. Because then you can start to carve out some of the pharmacy aspects of the plan,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe get your drugs internationally,
Right.
saving, I mean, cutting crazy costs off the plan.
Yeah, that's the biggest part of it, especially on the small group market. The carrier comes with the renewal. They say something like, we're 120% of medical loss ratio, so they
Right.
want you to think that they lost 20%, or they should be 80%, but they're 120, so they're losing. And they're going to say, hey, you got this high claimant, and the high claimant had $200,000 worth of claims.
Hmm.
They'll de-identify it, but you're not going to know the details of that, right? And
Right.
so maybe the claim came in at $200,000,
Hmm.
but they didn't pay $200,000 on the claim, and they're
Right.
not going to tell you that. And so that's not the number one thing about doing what you're talking about, is once you start to peel this back and you go from a fully insured plan to maybe a level funded plan, so it looks and
Hmm.
feels like it, but now you can start to see some of the data, you can see where the money's being spent, and focus that way. That's the beginning steps of
100%.
starting to break this thing apart.
100%. And I think there's also another misconception out there that, um, like if you're, I think there's a misconception that fully insured is bad, and I don't think that's the
Oh,
case at all.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're, so like for example, referring back to the conversation that we had with the potential client this morning, she was telling me that they have like an older workforce, right? She's like, one thing about my employees is they hate change, and so it's like, you just have your like, they want to stay with their same
Right.
carrier that they're with, and they don't want to like mess with things and move away from that fully insured model. So it's not for everyone.
Right.
But I know that there's so many employers that are out there, and we have conversations with them all the time of, hey, I'm in this fully insured model. I want more transparency. I want to move away from this model, and I just don't know my options.
Right.
And a lot of the times I see that brokers aren't bringing them their options, and I think that it's kind of our responsibility to do so. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just an educational process.
Yeah.
It's like, here are your options. I'm going to guide you in whatever I think is the best way for you guys to go, so that you can save money and have minimal disruption, so that your employees can go out and get care wherever they are used to getting care
Mm-hmm.
from, but you guys can still begin to pull back the layers and start to save money, because at the end of the day, like, it's always typically it's the second biggest expense on the P&L,
Right,
right?
right. Yeah, I mean, there's still a place for fully insured.
For
Fully
sure.
insured especially as you get in, the smaller groups. You've got, fully insured may in fact be your only really good option.
Right.
So there's still a huge market for that, especially on the small group side. But that doesn't mean it doesn't make sense to at least look at some of these other options. And 100% employees don't like change. They want to be able to go to see their doctor. They don't want to have to think about, can I go to the hospital system I want to go to or not? And
Right.
so there's so many good things about the fully insured market. And quite frankly, it's also the simplest, right?
Yeah.
It's one entity, one card.
It's so easy.
They're so easy,
It's so
100%.
easy.
But because it's so easy, you've got all those parts, those pieces, kind of bolted together to create the fully insured product. It can be more expensive. So it's not, self-funding, level funding is not for everybody, and especially as you get down in the market on the size. But you at least need to take a look at it, right? Take a look at the
100%.
full insured, compare it to the self-funded captive models, things like that, to see what maybe there's something out there, because it just does keep getting more and more expensive.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
and no less, and doesn't get any more transparent.
right. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to look back at kind of how we've gotten to where we are today,
Mm-hmm.
right? And with the medical loss ratio passed with the Affordable Care Act, with groups, I mean, let's just say anywhere from 15 to 20%. It depends on how large your group is, right?
Yep.
So let's just say from anywhere from 15 to 20%. That's the most that a lot of these large insurance carriers, like your Bucas, your Blue Cross, Aetna, United, and Cigna, like they can only make 15% on what is it, the medical expenditure, right? And they have to give it back
Right.
if they don't hit that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I mean, it's a simple question of, would you rather make 15% of $1 million, or would you rather make 15% of $1 trillion?
Right.
It's an obvious answer, right? So I mean, what we've seen is in all of the stock prices and the value of the company for all of these large carriers, it's just skyrocketed.
Right.
And so that only means one thing. It means that, I mean, and we're seeing it every day, is that our premiums are just getting more and more expensive.
Right.
Right. So it's like there's only one way to solve that. And I mean, you just kind of have to deconstruct the system if you really want to peel it back.
Right.
So I think I say all that to say, if you're in the fully insured model and it's tiring, it's like it's not going to get any better.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's no reason to just stay there and just be like, okay, like I'm gonna cross my fingers this year and hope that it starts to go down,
Right.
because it's not going to.
Right. The prices aren't going to go down. The quality's not going to get any
No.
better. It's not going to become any more transparent. You're going to just keep getting the same thing. And until you
Right.
start to break away from that, you're on that, you're a hamster on that wheel, and it's just, you're running faster and faster trying to keep up. And at some point, there's going to be a time that you can't keep up any longer.
Right. I mean, so it's like, I mean, that's kind of our job as the broker and as the advisor to bring them alternative options.
Right.
Right. And if you want to stay fully insured, it's like that's fine. Like if that's what's best for you in this moment, that's totally fine.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where, what we're looking to build relationships, right? We're not looking to say, hey, we want to come in and take over your plan and convert you from full insured to self-funded. We want to look at your whole picture, ask lots of questions, find out what your pain points are, and start to, work with you on moving you in that direction if you're comfortable with it,
right,
at the pace you want to do it, because of the confusion and surrounding benefits and the cost.
No, 100%. But the option and the education piece has to be there.
Yep.
And I think that's what a lot of employers are missing right now, is they're like, I'm not even being shown these options,
Right.
and it's frustrating.
Yeah.
I wanna ask you a little bit about one thing that I've always just kind of been curious about is, you've been doing this for 20 years. We're opening up a new office in Canton.
Yep.
Right. When's that?
Well, hopefully
when's
we'll
the
be
opening
there
date?
September, October. We got the building. We got to get it remodeled and that. But
Okay.
yeah, hopefully we'll be in there by the busyness of fall.
And I feel like I get an email every day about how we're hiring someone new.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is
6
great.
new
Like,
people this year. Yeah.
6 new people this year.
Yeah.
Wow. No, that's nuts. And so yeah, my question is, like, after all these years, like what's keeping you going? Like what's motivating you to continue to grow instead of just like sitting back and just, collecting checks and being like, hey, like I've done my thing, I'm good. Like what's continuing to fuel you?
Well, I would start by saying, God has blessed me in this industry
Mm-hmm.
and in my family and in my health, and knock on wood, I hope that keeps up. And as the company grows, and really what keeps me going now is that, it's really two things. It's helping our clients with a really confusing subject,
Mm-hmm.
an expensive problem that they have, and getting creative and rolling up our sleeves and helping the small businesses around us do a better job of running their business by taking the pain they have on their shoulder of dealing with their HR and their as it relates to benefits,
Mm-hmm.
and just solving the problem and genuinely looking out for the best interest of the client. And then the flip side of that is employees like you, right? It's like, how can we attract, retain, and attract good employees
Mm-hmm.
that can earn good money, that can get a lot of satisfaction out of helping our clients, and then let their families grow and really be excited to work here and happy to work here,
Yeah.
and then give back to the community. And that's really what keeps me going now. My clients there's two sides of my clients. It's the customers of OHB, and now it's our employees, right? It's like, how can we make their lives better?
Mm-hmm.
um, More so even than the employer groups, because there's only so much you can do in the employer group. We can do a lot, but it's not like, hey, we can do a lot with our employees as well. So that's what it is. It's like, God's blessed me, so how can I spread that out among these two groups of people? And as long as, again, my health holds up and things keep going, I was like, let's let this thing keep spreading. It's been spreading really well. It's been going really well, and let's keep this thing rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just fun to grow,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean, it kind of feels like your life is like a stock. Like there really isn't. It's hard to just stay
Right.
right here. Like you're either falling or you're improving,
Yeah.
and there's going to be pain either way.
Right.
Like there's pain in regression.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Oh yeah. I said that to my business partner Dave when we started the business 20 years ago. It's like, listen, you're either growing or you're dying.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what point? I think Dave said something like, hey, when do we get to the point where we got this thing big enough that we can just sort of tread water? It's like, we'll never get there, right? In my
Yeah.
opinion, because you've got to keep up with the market. You need to know what's going on. Things are changing every day. Legislation changes every
There's
day.
so much
And so there's
change.
so much change. So like, we just want to keep up with it. And so unless you've got the eye on the ball and and you're really plugged into what's going on, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to start to die or
Oh,
tread, and you
100%.
don't want to do that. So we want to be at the forefront. We want to know what's going on, and
Mm-hmm.
have our finger on the pulse so that we can react and do the right things to keep this whole thing going.
Yeah. No, I think back to like when I very first started here, and honestly, like a lot of my decision making process of like why I wanted to come work here in the first place was one, the culture. Like I just liked, from the second I walked in, I liked everyone that worked here. Like I seem to have similar values to everyone in the building, and for me, I want to be somewhere where I can be here for 5, 10, 20 years, and in order to do that you need to be around good people,
Yeah.
right? So it's like a values thing. But a funny part that I always kind of think about is like, I feel like a lot of, at least from my eyes, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of folks in the insurance space are maybe on the older side
Mm-hmm.
of of people. You know what I mean? I
Right.
feel like a lot of like
Yeah.
insurance agents
Right.
are old guys. You know what I mean? So I was like, in my head, it's like, hey, this is a space that's needing younger people.
Right.
And I mean, originally that was kind of like, hey, like I can do really well for myself if
Right.
if I get into a space that's aging. But now learning about everything that's happening in the industry and watching myself be in a position to help an employer here in Northeast Ohio and understand that I can put them in a better situation and bring them more transparency in their health plan and lower their premiums, both for the employer, but at the end of the day, it's coming out of our paychecks,
Right.
right, as the everyday American employee.
Right.
And so it's for me, it's become a really cool something I didn't see at the start. Like I'm in a position of responsibility to restore the American dream
Right.
for Northeast Ohio.
Right.
And it seems silly to like say that out loud, like and just kind of like, oh, you're not gonna like change anything. But at the end of the day, like you really can. And I feel like it is my responsibility to help facilitate that
Yeah.
with
Right.
with with being an architect, a better plans for employers around here?
Well, I'll rib you on one thing, right? You said 5, 10, 15 years, right? You didn't say
Hmm.
retire from here, but that's okay, right? But you're a young guy. The young
Right,
guys want
right,
to
right.
change jobs every year or two, right? So if I can get 5, 10, 15 years out of you, I'll be happy. But no, like we need new, young, fresh, smart blood into this industry.
Hmm.
I'm 61 years old. There's a lot of old guys out there doing this. We need young, fresh blood uh, into it, and that's why it's great to have you. It's great to continue to hire young guys and gals that they want to come in and learn the industry. And
Yeah.
nobody's ever been born or woke up, or if you never, I don't know if there's ever been a second grader that said, I want to be an insurance guy when I grow up,
No.
right? Nobody's ever
Honestly,
done that.
honestly, when I heard about it from, a family friend of mine, like I was like, insurance, like that's
Yeah.
I don't want to go do insurance. And then
Right.
I started to think about it. It's I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, but once you get into it, right, it's like, oh my gosh, there's such a need for what we do, right?
Yeah.
There's so much confusion. There's so many changes going on. There's so much of the old stuff that's happening that these older people in the business can kind of rest on their laurels and just pass another renewal on and keep it fully insured and negotiate your renewal from 12% to 8% or 20% to 15 or whatever, and the
Hmm.
employer feels like they're doing the right thing by doing that
Right.
and not having the energy or the enthusiasm or the desire to find these new cooler solutions. And there's lots
100%.
of new cool solutions out there, so
Yeah.
we need guys like you. We need more young guys.
Yeah. And honestly, like at first I was almost embarrassed going in and meeting with business owners and CFOs, talking about how I can help them in their business, just being a younger guy.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of like, with everything that's happening in the AI space, and knowing that my, like, as of right now, my book of business is a lot smaller than a lot of the more seasoned reps. So it's like you have this guy who might not know as much, but I'm able to lean on you, and I'm able to lean on other experienced reps within OHB.
Right.
But I feel like I'm way hungrier than a lot of the other reps
Right.
out there. And
Yeah.
so it's like, sure, this guy might not be as experienced right now, but he at least has the capability, he has the resources, but most importantly, he has the willingness and the hunger to go out and find these new solutions for my business and save me anywhere from 5, 6, 7 figures.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, a lot of guys get into this business and they think of it as a machine, right? Like if I can get into this business and I can start to write some groups and start to have this steady stream of income in,
Hmm.
then I can be out golfing or I can be out fishing half the days and the machine's running in the background and the checks just keep coming in.
Right.
And then that model can work. It does work, but that's not our model, right? We're 48 employees. We're 21 years in the business. We're growing at a nice steady pace. We want to grow this thing, right? And we want young people like you to say, hey, we're not going to just keep doing it this way because that's the way we've always done it. We
Hmm.
want to keep trying these new things. And there's so much stuff going on in the industry, especially when you talk to us about the small group and the new cool products that are coming out that are
Yep.
not fully insured products. That's what we need to grow this thing, because
agree.
we can't just get here and stay flat. We want to keep growing this thing.
I agree. So, well, let me ask you this: within the next 5, 10 years, where do you see Ohio Health Benefits as a whole growing? And we'll end with that.
Well, I think we're going to continue to have success in the small group market.
Hmm.
I think we're going to start to climb that ladder a little bit, right? We're going to get into the larger group space,
Hmm.
because even though at one time that might have intimidated me, like how can I compete with a Gallagher
Right.
or an Oswald? That
Yep.
doesn't intimidate me anymore, right? I'm the business owner. I'm running this gig. We've got a great leadership team. We've got a great group of people all focused on the same thing, and it's just helping our customers with a complex problem. And we can do that better than those big guys. And so I'm not afraid to go up against them. So I think I'd love to say in 10 years we can double in size.
Yeah.
Maybe we're not from 48 to 96 employees, but we can double our growth. We're going to run efficiently, and we're going to keep adding to it. So again, where that used to intimidate me, it doesn't intimidate me anymore at all. I can go eyeball to eyeball with the business owner, right? You're not going to go eyeball to eyeball with the owner of Gallagher and the business owner. They're going to bring in the best suits that they can to that meeting. They're going to do the best presentation they can. You may never see those guys again,
Right. You
because
probably
they're going to
won't.
leave town, and it's going to be the local person, and they're going to be struggle because they've got all these groups they're trying to wrangle in. So
Hmm.
that's not us, right?
Right.
We want to deal direct with our clients, and I want to be involved as the owner, right?
Yeah.
I'm
No, I
not a
love it.
golfer, and I don't fish anymore, so
Mhm.
do like to go to the
Nice.
beach every once in a while, though.
That's right. That's right. Cool. Well, I gotta hop on a 3 o'clock, but
Thanks, man.
Thanks for doing
Awesome.
this.
You got it.
It's
Thanks,
fun.
Jacob.
Thank you. Stop that.
All right,
Boom.
Alex.
I think it's stopped.
You think I hit record in the first place?
Yeah, it's at 30 minutes.
Oh, dude.
I was watching the whole time.
Oh, dude.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
That'd be the worst. I was thinking that, like, I kept